Brian Buffini started a real estate team before teams were a thing, back in 1992, back before brokerages had any idea what to do with real estate teams. Today, Buffini Company coaches and trains agents, team leaders, and broker owners all over the world. They were kind enough to welcome me to the stage at a recent Buffini Coaching live event to get lessons learned over the decades, specifically for team leaders. What it took to sell 100 homes a year back in the late 80s. What it was like to start a team before brokerages had any idea what to do with them. How to find your assistant. What the primary team models are and which might be right for you. When limiting your team to 4 to 7 agents makes the most sense. What the hardest thing about real estate is and what mistakes that can lead to. Get all that and much more with Brian Buffini and a live audience on Real Estate Team OS.
No matter where your business is today or where you want to take it, you'll get there faster and more profitably with an operating system. Welcome to Team OS, your guide to starting, growing, and optimizing a real estate team. Here's your host, Ethan Butte.
This is an absolute joy and privilege to be here with you in person, Brian.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
At my own event.
Yeah.
I just get to work. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. So does this feel like your work to you?
No.
Good. Very
Not
good.
yet.
Good. And thank you again so much for doing this, by the way. I'd be remiss if I didn't start with a huge thank you for everything you've done, all the lives and businesses you've positively impacted, and specific to the topic of the show, you're also a real estate team pioneer, which we'll get to shortly. But the standard opener on the show is, what is a must-have characteristic of a high-performing team?
Oh, I think you can't manage anybody if you don't manage yourself. I don't think you can lead anybody if you don't lead yourself. I still think like a realtor, and I run a pretty big company today, and I have to guard against that. And it's my comfort zone, it's what I know how to do, and it's the Darth Vader principle. You know, you turn on the dials. I'll take them myself. And with the business I have, I mean, we were just here today, we had 35,000 people. Well, there isn't much take it yourself when you're trying to do stuff like that. So the real key for me is you got to manage yourself, you got to lead yourself before you can lead anybody else. And so the whole dynamic of self-development and leadership development is pivotal. It's pivotal. Like, if you're not willing to do that, you should never have a team. It's over before it starts.
Yeah, so a strong team leader who is confident in themselves, investing in themselves, is the key characteristic.
Yeah, and I would asterisk on the confidence, because I made a lot of mistakes early on because I thought in order to be a leader, I had to have all the answers. And I thought all the answers had to be right. And that if I ever had a wrong thought, idea, or strategy, that the team would crumble in their confidence in me. And so, no one wants to be wrong, and we're not going to try to make mistakes intentionally. You want to have confidence, but confidence is born out of experience. And experience is ultimately coming out of doing things you do well, and then sometimes experience is getting a whole bunch of what you don't want.
Yeah, so maybe then vision with principles and values in the middle, and experimentation on the backside, and people around you that trust and believe in the vision to exercise.
Yep. Empower them, train them, and harness them up and get them going.
Yeah. So you were selling 100 homes a year in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Cast a picture, this is leading up to the dawn of your team, but like, that's pre-internet leads, that's pre a lot of the software that people think will make them more efficient. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
Duran.
Yeah.
Flock of Seagulls.
Yeah.
Sade.
Yeah.
Oof. Oh, you too with the big hair.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my era. And so I was selling homes, and I had a flip chart and a notepad, and I would go on appointments. And back in those days, the big producers, they had VHS cassettes that were personal promotional things. And they'd come in and they'd send these in advance and standing in front of the Rolls Royce. Like, people have no concept of this, but like, that was the standard training. The biggest trainer in the business at the time, his byline was find them, fleece them, and forget them. And so I come along, Mr. Referrals. You gotta understand, when I came out on the circuit talking about referrals, it was absolute disruption of the industry. Like, it was like AI to the real estate business. Because underneath, everybody knew referrals were where it's at, but that was considered weak. And the industry was cold call, door knock, expire for sell by owner. And the reason that was the case, it was a proven system. If you made this number of calls, like a factory, right? And everything was like, you did this, you did that, go down the end, you got it. And the style of leadership at the time was one of control. So you can control your agents to do these activities. You turn these dials, you get this result at the end of the conveyor belt. And so the real estate business dissolved in leadership over time because the agents went, forget this. And the agents started going to forgetting 50% models to 100% models. They wanted to have their own listings, do their own things. And I was part of that. I was right at the cusp of that. So, but yeah, I was doing 100 homes a year with one assistant. And, I'm 58 now. Can you imagine what I was like at 22, 23? I was a maniac. And I don't teach all the things I did.
Right. Some of them aren't as relevant or don't apply
exactly.
anymore.
Yeah. And then it grew from there. And then I realized, okay, I had other things I wanted to do. And I would come up with, and I haven't shared this stuff because it blows people out a little bit. But I didn't have many peers, so I would come up with little games. So I had a game. So one year I sold 127 homes.
To compete against yourself.
Compete against myself, right? Because I wasn't competing against people in the office. And so I had a deal, could I do 100 homes a year in 30 hours? And so that was my game. And I had an egg timer every time I was in the office and did this whole thing. And I just about killed myself trying to do it in 30 hours, but that was the game. I ended up doing 87 that year, but increased my average sales price by 2.5 times. So I did more revenue. That was the way I figured out how I could do more in less time, was to raise my average sales price. So a fantastic thing came out of it. But playing games with it myself, and that's where the team came from. So
talk about like your original concept, what we would now refer to as a team. Like, what was it at that time, and how did it come together, and what was it before you decided to pivot out of it?
Well, again, I'm going to really date myself here, but so I sold a home to a guy that ran the largest Christian radio station in San Diego County, K-Praise Radio. And he goes, man, you're just a fount of knowledge, and you got all these quotes, and people can't understand your accent, but when they do, it's really funny. And so he said, why don't you do a Sunday evening show? Let's give it a whirl. So I start doing this Sunday evening show, and it was a call-in show. And it was a call-in show on real estate. Well, I start getting people, like, the listenership goes through the roof. And they're like, this is great, and we're doing this, and the advertisers are going. So the next thing you know, all these people are calling the radio station going, I need that guy's number. And I'm like, really? So then I started to say, hey, if you want to do business with me, call here. Well, we start getting boatloads of people calling my office off the radio. Now, here's the trick. I had all the business I wanted. And they were all referrals. And at that stage, I was getting kind of picky. I got to the point in my business, if you were referred by one person, I would hand off that typically. But if someone was referred by 2 and 3 people, or a repeat customer, then they had me. So that's when I decided, okay, I need to expand my team. So there were people in the office who were really good people with really good hearts. And I said, great, all they need is leads. So I started giving them the radio leads. And so, of course, no training, no accountability, no nothing like that. So
by the way, I've heard that story on the show a number of times.
So, and then my younger brother, Kevin Buffini, came and joined the practice, which is a whole nother welcome to the circus moment. But I said, Kevin, here's what I want you to do. His first job, call all the leads that we handed off in the last 6 months. Because the buyer's agent is telling me they're no good. And we had handed, I can't remember the exact numbers, like 80 leads. And all but 6 of them had purchased. And we got 5 of the deals. So they'd purchased, they just didn't purchase with us. So realized, these good-hearted people weren't enough. And also, when you don't generate the lead, you don't value the lead to the same degree as the person who does it. So that was my first eye-opening experience. So then it was, okay, I'm gonna train these people, I'm gonna teach these people, and I'm gonna hold these guys accountable. Because just because you didn't, like my kids have grown up in they grew up on private jets and things like that, but they have a blue collar work ethic like their dad. So the key is to eliminate entitlement. And what I see with teams, what happened in my own team, what I see throughout the industry, is I had people who were entitled, and they basically, if the fish jumped in the boat and canned itself,
Right.
it was tuna.
I'll write my name on the can.
Yeah. And so they would complain about the leads or complain about this. So then it's like, okay, in order to do this, like, here's the deal. You got this amount of time to we hand you a lead. If you're working, so we wanted people to have time off and whatever else, so I ended up having 2 of these people. But like, if you don't call the lead back in 24 hours, and this is, again, 1990, not what it is today, man, that lead is no longer your lead.
Yeah, that's a standard, by the way. You document that, you train it, you expect it, you enforce it. Congratulations, you have a standard.
And then through trial and errors, we developed some dialogues and so on and so forth. And then what I did was kind of fun, which is, I make little competitions with myself. So I said, okay, here's what I want to do. I'm going to take I'm going to do referral fees on all these leads I'm handing off. And I'm just going to put it in the fun account. So whatever comes in, hey, Bev, we're going to go on this trip. We're going to go do this. Just a fun account. We'll donate it. We'll do whatever. Well, pretty soon this starts being some serious money, like serious money. And then really serious money. And it's like, well, no, we're going to use this to buy real estate. And so what I did was eventually got to my team was this. I had a team of 6. And my goal was everything I grossed was what I net. So I didn't want to have a team of 35 people and all that type of stuff. That wasn't, by the way, when I formed a team, I was at a RE/MAX agent at the time, started at ERA, went to RE/MAX. RE/MAX did not have a policy for a team. So I was the first team in San Diego.
I wanted to ask about that specifically. Like, what did they think you were doing? How did the conversation go? What were like the main
Well, I was a
concerns?
top agent for them. And I was also, here's something I don't talk about often. I was a top recruiter for that broker too. And I feel a sense of responsibility. If I'm working for a broker that's invested in me, and I'm out in the marketplace doing deals and talking about people, and they're like, how's your business? It's fantastic. You should talk to Greg, my broker. Greg Seaman was the #1 recruiter in RE/MAX in the state of California. And in a 5-year period of time, I sent him 38 referrals that closed, that went and joined the company. So I always felt a sense of responsibility to give back like that. And so he was willing to work with me, but he goes, man, I don't know what to do here. And so at the time, whoever worked for me, they classified them as a sub-agent.
Okay.
That was the law at the time. And so then he wanted to charge me a desk fee for everyone working underneath me. And so this building still exists in San Diego today. This thing is legend. So I took this office, I took out all the desks, I took out all the chairs, I put in a hardwood floor, and I built these counters. And we had these rolling chairs. So I had 5 people, and it was like a rolling opera. Da-na-na-na-na-na. And so for years so later on he said, look, man, the headquarters is coming down on me. They say you got 5 agents. We got to pay us 5 agents. So I went and bought a building in San Diego for what they were going to charge me. And I had my own 2-story building in La Mesa, California. So the thing that happens when I left, and then years later when I became a speaker, they left the name on the door. So there was 100 agents in that office. So this was the Brian Buffini office. And this is how wild real estate is. People would pay double to work in that office. Now, it was cool, but I think they thought like the juju was there.
Yeah.
And that's it. You go in there, you sell 100 homes a year. But that office is still in existence today. The same kind of green, forest green counters. I'm like, so, but yeah, I mean, we founded a team before a team was cool. I founded a team for the same reason, I believe. I had a surplus of leads. I wanted them well taken care of. And I eventually built a format so people would do an extraordinary job for them. And then I enjoyed that. It started being everything I gross is what I net. And then it ended up being my team eventually helped me build a fortune because from the proceeds of those transactions, I stayed within my lifestyle. You might want to write that down. I kept my budget the same, but I took all the proceeds from the team and bought real estate in 1990.
In Southern California.
In Southern California. So
yeah.
It's been a blessing.
Yeah. In the decades since we've watched the dynamics between teams and brokerages change, do you have any like high-level observations about, I guess I'll call it the rise of real estate teams, particularly over the past 10 to 15 years? Any thoughts on it at all? Well,
there's a lot of people in this room who've been with me a long time. I was talking about teams before anybody was talking about teams. And I said it was the future of real estate. And here's the interesting thing. Why does it work? Because 50-50 has always worked in real estate. And so when you have teams and you're doing a split 50-50 or 60-40, whatever people are doing nowadays, that makes sense. And so what happened is the brokers got consistently squeezed out. And so I think the major franchises were slow to adjust. I think teams were tolerated for years and years. I still think teams are mostly tolerated. Some brands have tried to get ahead of it and go, no, we're going to be a team culture. I actually think, believe it or not, I think there's going to be a resurgence in brokerages. And nobody thinks that. But I think these current market conditions, with the pullback in the number of agents that are about to happen, with the consolidation going on in the industry, there's just an awful lot of free-spirited people who don't want to be working for conglomerates. Mm-hmm. And you're going to see an uptick in independent brokerages, and you're going to see, I think what you're going to see is brokers who have teams, and then agents as well, all under one roof.
What was your vision for teams being the future of the industry as you started to kind of catch on to what was going on?
Well, I saw myself. This was a super profitable model. Like, we were on this broadcast today, and there was a young gal called in, and her husband's in the Navy, and she's had to change cities a couple times, and she's exhausted and overwhelmed at the prospect of having to start from scratch. Or the last market we had for the last 3 years. Imagine you're 27 years of age, and you got into real estate. None of your friends can buy a house, right? And you're trying to generate a lead and get the ball rolling. Well, I believe the perfect place for those people to start in real estate is a team. And because the team leader has a vested interest in making sure they get trained, vested interest in making sure they're productive. And if the team leader's doing their job right, they're bringing in more leads than they can handle. And I know we can get down the road on, the team models today are all built around online leads and stuff like that. And I get that, but I still think the core fundamentals needs to be the fundamentals. And people could argue with me, hey man, your radio was just the first online lead.
Yeah.
And you could certainly argue that. But I think the key component of having a team is my core fundamentals are such to a degree that I've got a quantity of leads coming in, and I need to handle those leads. And what am I going to do? And so, I have different. We teach in our. How many of you in here, by the way? We have a live audience here, obviously. How many of you have a team? I'm curious. Okay, a high percentage of the room. Mm-hmm. And so we teach a process where we have 5 different models we teach, and the first one is we call the referral agent, which is basically find an agent in your office, match up, give them some dialogues to say they're calling on your behalf, they're part of your team, and you start with the referral fees. And that's a great way to start. It's also a great way to expand and keep the fixed expenses down. So I find that to be a very handy tool. And eventually, sometimes a referral agent who's getting leads and doing well goes, I want to join the team permanently. So look, the margins make sense. The model makes sense. If you're a lead generator and a lead driver, that makes sense. And especially right now, where it's hard to generate a lead, especially newer people coming in the business, or people who've come from out of area, or have gone through maybe a tough time, like people have gone through a divorce or whatever, something life change experience like that. I think a great proving ground for those people is to come to a team.
Yeah, a proven system that people can plug into, and it's kind of like gives them a jump start. You mentioned the referral agent. That's the first of your 5 team models. I'd love for you to walk through those a little bit and kind of talk about the nuances between them. Because I talk with a lot of people who struggle to know, A, should I start a team? B, how far should I go? Yeah. Should I stay here at 8 to 12 agents? We're doing well. We got that family feel. But, I could be more financially successful myself if I pushed out to 40 or 50, but there's this kind of like Death Valley in between there. Yeah. There's a lot of questions about what model is right for me and when. So I'd love for you to just kind of walk through them and add any nuance about.
Well, you're looking at the guy who coined the Death Valley phrase 28 years ago.
Good.
And right? How many of you heard me talking about this? And many of you in here. And I had real estate companies go to war with me over this because they were selling franchises and people had 14 agents and 18 agents. And so here's the dynamic. I said at the beginning, I still think like a realtor. Mm-hmm. I still think like a salesman. And the salesperson thinks more sales will cure everything. And more is better. And that is not the case, especially not with a team. So I start out with the referral agent model. So the first team is an agent with an assistant. Mm-hmm. And I would tell you that foundation is key. And we just, in fact, for our members here, we're building out this thing called the Excellent Assistant with videos and all that kind of good stuff for them. Because the key component of your foundation, if you don't have that right, forget it.
Any tips on finding the right person? That's a massive struggle for a lot of people.
Yeah, don't be in a hurry. Don't hire someone like you. If you're a hunter, you better hire a skinner, or there's dead bodies everywhere. So you gotta hire people that are different than you. We have in our coaching program a real strengths profile. And what we try to do is match people up with, here's your strengths, here's their strengths, here's where their matches. But I would say ultimately, character, chemistry, competence. When I first became an employer, that's not how I would have done it. Okay? I started with competence. You run an ad, oh, this person's very competent. Let me tell you. It's the person today she's been my executive assistant for 10 years. She's now the chief of staff at Buffini Company. And she was not necessarily equipped for the job I hired her for. She'd been an assistant inside the organization, and many of the leaders in companies go, oh, no. But I met her, and there was this chemistry. And I could tell with her character, she had capacity. I'm like, okay. And I can teach her the competence stuff, or I can help her get the help she needs for the competence stuff. Well, she's flourished beyond that, and she's more than an assistant today. Like I say, chief of staff of a company that's the largest coaching company in the world.
And it's the trust you put in her, in addition to all of her own skills and capabilities, to flex and try and do new things.
Right. She had the character, and we had the chemistry, and then we got the competence. So I think that's key component. A lot of times what happens in real estate is we hire someone we know, family, friend, whatever, and again, that can work, but it also can't work, and you need to count the cost. If you're going to fire your sister-in-law, you need to think about that before the day you hire her.
You're right. And
then think about Thanksgiving dinner and how that's going to work.
Yeah.
Okay? And, you hear from the other table, I hear you're really slumping. So that's not what you want. So I just think that formula is great. What I did was I used it as an opportunity to go to my database for referrals. So I would send out a mailer to my database, and I'd call my database. Start with my favorite people, say, great news, I'm expanding my business, Ethan. And you know what? I need someone who's super competent to help me in an administrative role. And I was thinking, you're someone I trust highly, maybe you would know somebody. And it gave me a chance to call my clients, tell them I'm expanding, and if they had a referral, then I'd work through it all. Okay? And I would always follow up, just like all referrals, I'd follow up, hey, here's what happened. She was a great fit. In fact, I helped her find a job over here type thing. So anyhow, I think, so the agent and the assistant is first, and the agent, assistant, plus the referral agents. Then we get into a team. And to me, your team is, you've got your agent, you've got your assistant, you're gonna have one or two buyer's agents, and now you're looking at expansion into what are you gonna do on the listing side. Now the listing side, I'm slower to give up initially, because that's the crown jewel of real estate. So someone really has to earn their stripes. So I typically move a buyer agent over to a listing specialist. I typically won't hire a listing specialist. Hey, I got a rock star in my hands. Now, some agents don't ever want to talk to a seller. It's more tense, there's more pressure, there's more negotiation, slight more confrontation. It takes a little more chops. And so I think a couple of buyer's agents, and then what you're going to start to see is, you're going to start getting into what I call the group. And the group is now your assistant's going to need an assistant. You're going to have however many buyer's agents, listing specialists, maybe you have a transaction coordinator, all that kind of good stuff. And then we have the mega groups, and we have those guys too, doing giant businesses. Here is the key. The key is to make sure that you run your business like a business. What do you want your business to look like? So if you have a team and you want to sell and you want to keep selling, your team should never go past 10, ever. There's no way that you can lead
because
a team.
You're keeping a lot of the opportunities rather than...
You are, but the other part of it is because here's what happens. There's not enough people there to make it work so that you can stop selling. But now you're maxed out on how much leadership you can do. And I would tell you, 10 is a big number. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm talking about including admin people. But, so to me, the perfect model, I'm gonna say this, and hopefully I don't ruin your show. I would say 80% of agents should stay selling and have a team that supports them. And if they had a goal to have everything I gross is what I net, It's a fantastic business model in real estate. And it also allows you to go on a vacation and you're covered, and other people can go on vacation and they're covered, and family and life can happen. And when there's feasts and famine, it's kind of be able to work through as a team. I think that is really, to me, that's the sweet spot. I will say this, 80% of our teams at Buffini Company are between 4 and 7. And when they want to go bigger, they have a long, long discussion with their coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. Like, leadership at an organization of 25 people is dramatically different than leadership of an organization of 10 people. What are some signs that someone might be well fit to go ahead and push on and build a larger business? Is it something that they know intuitively? Are there any indications in their past that would suggest that they're well suited toward building and leading a larger organization versus enjoying what you just described of like a tighter organization?
I believe the number one reason people expand their teams, the number one motivation for most people is ego and comparison. Mm-hmm. They hear so-and-so walks across stage. I'll tell you right now, because I've been around this thing, next June, 40 freaking years. That's scary to say. But I've been there, and I've been at all the major conventions and yada, yada. I've been backstage when the number one team in the world was getting an award. And the wife comes over to me as he's on stage getting the magnificent award, and she's bawling her eyes out going, please help us. Please help us. Can you help us? We're going bankrupt. Okay? He's taking uppers. He's living on Red Bull. He's doing this. Our marriage isn't going to make it. Our kids never see him. And we're going broke. But he walks out in front of that stage, and what happens, he gets the award, gets the accolades, and then a whole bunch of people in the room start comparing themselves to that person. Mm-hmm. And they don't know he's failing miserably because he bought into it's understandable. Like it's the part of it is like there's a gift there, right? There's a gift and there's aspiration there, but you have to be a business person, and it has to make sense. And it has to make sense in regards to time and treasure. Mm-hmm. Time and treasure. And so, what are you willing to spend, both time and treasure, and what are you willing to do? Now, here's the deal. Some people are just more naturally gifted at that. And you find that if you're leading people, and you find that you're really able to engage people, really able to inspire people, you're really great at attracting people to yourself, and you start enjoying that more than you do the selling, well then great. That might be a great indicator that this is your gift. And so I would slowly transition more and more of my business over to the team, and slowly, if you're gonna have the bigger team, your number one job is to recruit, lead, and then sell. Mm-hmm. To me, in the middle, it's sell, lead, and recruit, if you have that 4 to 7. So different job descriptions, different gifts. It's helpful. We have a real strengths profile, which is a deep analysis of a person's natural gifts and abilities. We have coaches who've had conversations, talk people out of this stuff all the time. But if somebody's really committed to it and they're really gifted at it, great, go for it. We have some people, I may have a couple of them here today, the 40, 50, 60 person teams, they're just a rock and roll. But they were put on earth to do that. Mm-hmm. It's just a very small percentage of people. And it's not their gifted is better than someone else's gift, it's just different.
Yeah. One of the pieces of the equation in what you just shared there is, leaving sales production. You mentioned 10 as a size where that shouldn't be a thing, but how would you advise someone thinking about pushing forward? Like what are the signs that you can start transitioning down and really go from, 100% of production to 70 down to, 20 or 10, where you're really only doing close?
Well, there's an economics to it too. Right now, you're not going to be 100% covered. But the bottom line is the revenue needs to start picking up over here on the team side so you can start reducing it on the sales side. People make the mad leap and go cold turkey. It happens all the time.
Hey, thanks so much for checking out this episode with Brian Buffini. And thanks again to the entire Buffini Company team for making it happen. We'll get back to the conversation in just a minute, but I wanted to let you know that after we recorded it, Brian and I did a live Q&A session with the audience covering topics like gross and net, tips for new team leaders, agent recruiting, and more. And you can get instant access to that Q&A session along with 10 other subscriber-only episodes absolutely free at realestateteamos.com/subscribe. Go to realestateteamos.com/subscribe. It's absolutely free. There are a lot of other resources, and you can check out that Q&A session. Now, back to the conversation with Brian.
And I'll tell you this, the hardest part about real estate, there's one thing that's really hard about this business. You feel like you're on a treadmill. Mm-hmm. You don't really feel like you're growing. Like, where's the, that's why real estate used to give out, awards for everything under God's green earth. The You're Still Around award, right? So, if you get a job, you're looking for promotion, advancement, you want feedback that you're growing and doing well. And real estate, when it's done really well, it can be repetitive. It can be a grind. It can be Groundhog Day. And I get all that. And it's what happens is when we get bored is when we make these entrepreneurial gaffes. And then, like I say, I'm at this a long time. And so let me confess a little bit. I got into this because I just wanted to change people's lives. That's it. I mean, there's no other deal. I was like, I'm going to do the right thing in the right way, and then hopefully it'll pay the bills. And next thing you know, I'm in charge of this giant company with, like we move the needle, like the 1 out of every 10 sales in America, or 1 every 8 sales here. South Africa, you cannot get the real estate license unless you are a Buffini practicing agent, okay? So we have that, Czechoslovakia, all that stuff. And as the business grew and my team grew, I became further and further away from A, my customer, and B, my staff. And I woke up one day and I go, where the hell am I? And I found myself not enjoying what I was doing anymore. And the accolades were more, and the remuneration was more, and the influence was more, and I couldn't stand it. And I was going to go do something else. And, of course, my bride, who's the ultimate coach, the coach you don't want, we had a lot of opportunities on the table. And she goes, what is it? What is it you're supposed to do? I go, well, impact and improve the lives of people. She goes, has that changed? No. Well, why don't you go back to doing that then? And I will tell you this, the last 6 months, I've had the time of my life. Now, I'm working my hind parts off, but I've had the time of my life, getting back to see the customers, getting back to building relationships. I've been jumping on coaching calls, stuff I hadn't done in years, which has been fantastic. And by the way, some of them have had opinions to share. They are realtors, And then also getting in touch with my staff and building relationships. Like, I have a Christmas party next week that people would pay thousands of dollars to go to. It is like mastermind on steroids. And I've had a blast prepping the Christmas party. The last few years, I barely showed up. So I think what the lesson in that is, find what it is you love about the business and make sure you pour yourself into that. Because what you love is where your gifts lie, it's where your heart lies, it's where your passion is. And whatever that pays, then be happy with that. And so I have all kinds of stuff. I have TV contracts and bloody reality TV show, all that stuff coming at me all the time. It's like, no, I'm gonna talk to 250 realtors at the Paris Hotel, take pictures, and have a good time.
Yeah, it's just a great testimony to the importance of purpose and not losing touch with it, because I sensed the word purpose occurred to me as you were talking about when you woke up and found yourself more distant than you were comfortable with from your customers and more distant than you were comfortable with your team. And your story is essentially a story of refinding your purpose, which leads me to I kind of wanted to ask you about this anyway. I didn't know if I was going to do it in a recorded setting or not. But your quote about Saint Irenaeus of Lyon, I feel like I heard that in your response. So I'd love for you to share that quote and why it's on your wall.
It's on my wall. It's the glory of God is the human person fully alive.
Yeah, I felt like you described a fully alive person.
That's very deep. Yes, very good. Yeah, it's a good word. I hadn't thought about that. I look at that thing every day, but sometimes you don't see it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll say this. I can honestly say in my heart of hearts, as hard as I'm working right now, I've never enjoyed anything as much as this. I have a company that I'm fixing up. I have fundamentals that sometimes I'm walking around day long going, what? We do what? We do what? And then roll up my sleeves. The gift I have is I have a team that I've never had before. And so here's the great news about the size organization I have. So like I hired one great guy. His name's Darren Dawson.
I know him.
Well, he brought about 5 leaders with him from different experiences he had. And every one of these people have been like just a home run human being who love what we do and who we do it for, who seems like they've been waiting for a chance like this their whole lives. And then we've homegrown this talent inside the building and who now have an expression and an opportunity. So I have the clients, I have the right message, and I now have the right team. And I am just freaking fired up. And I will tell you this, let me tell you what I'm doing right now. Joe Gibbs, I don't know if you know the name. Joe Gibbs was a coach of the Washington Redskins, whatever they're called now today. They change their name every month. But he won 3 Super Bowls. And then he went on to change sports, and he ran NASCAR. And I believe he won 3 NASCAR championships. So when a guy is that talented, a person is that talented, and they can move their leadership gifts from place to place and achieve at the highest levels of competition, they got something going for them. And he said this, there's 2 things in business that will test you: success and failure. So let me tell you what I'm working on right now at Buffini Company. We're putting things together and rebuilding stuff and going back to our customers and loving them up. And there's been a lot of sorries in the last 6 months. And what I'm working on as the CEO is preparing for when the team hits this success. Because I don't ever want to get back here again. And sometimes pain is such a good gift, because if something hurts that much, like I had customers that were with us for 20 years that fired us. I had people who worked for me for 20 years that we fired that never should have been let go. And that's painful. And it's painful to see people either losing trust in you or your team cashing in their trust, where they had to extend themselves because you weren't properly leading them. Well, that has been so painful that I'm like, I ain't ever coming here again. In fact, I have a little song that I play. It's by The Who. It's called Don't Be Fooled. I Won't Be Fooled Again. And it's a cool song. It's a great song if you download it. But I like the last line. You know, the 70s, they had great guitar solos. And at the end of it, so he does this whole song, and then at the end of it, and it says, here's the new boss. Looks a lot like the old boss. And I go, that's me, baby, I'm back. So it's good stuff. And so what I'm doing right now is preparing my company to do this. Okay, like we're about to have a 14% increase in the market. We have the right tool at the right time. We just developed this core blitz program. It's gonna blow up. We have what we're doing. Our systems are great. We've got this technology where we meet new customers. All this stuff is great. And I don't want to be in a situation, again, where we lose connection with our personal relationships, where we lose sight of who our favorite people are, who our best customers are, that we love on them, we blow them away, they just feel absolutely honored to be our customer, and then our staff are like, man, I wouldn't work anywhere else. And so I'm working on that now. I'm working for when the next test has come. And the next test will be success. And I'm working on that right now. So thank you, Joe Gibbs.
Yeah, really good. I didn't know that part about Joe Gibbs carrying on beyond the NFL. It's fantastic. Okay, so
my mother calls me a hive of useless information. So I've made a living knowing things that have no relevance to life and then teaching them to people and getting paid for it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say in the past 24 hours, 3 or 4 references to movies and TV shows that I remember came out of you. And I was like, oh yeah, how about that? I know what she's talking about. Okay, so the way that we, thank you so much for doing this. The way that we wrap these up, I have 3 fun pairs of closing questions. You can answer one or the other. Some people choose to answer both. You're welcome to do whatever you like. The first one is, what is your very favorite team to root for besides Buffco? Or what is the best team you've ever been a member of?
My favorite team in the world to cheer for is called the A-Team. I got 6 kids.
Yeah.
And whatever team they're on, that's the team I'm cheering for, and that's my number 1 team. The second question was?
Favorite team to root for or best team you've ever been a member of?
Best team I've ever been a member of is the B team. That's me and Beverly.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Well done.
This is how you stay married 35 years.
Well played. That's fantastic. What is one of, I think some of you might really enjoy this one. What is one of your most frivolous purchases Or what's a cheapskate habit you hold on to even though you don't need to?
I got cheapskate habits, baby. So wherever I travel, and I'm on the road all the time, I take all the soaps. I take all the lotion. Beverly has about 4,000 caps for the shower cap. Yeah. I got at least a couple hundred nail kits and sewing kits.
Yeah.
I sort them by hotel franchise.
Yeah.
Don't like the Marriott lotion.
So you got a special closet for these items because they're good for travel, I hear.
And this is just the start. My kids will tell you, man. Yeah. OCD, I've made it functional.
Yeah, it's good. What does it look like for you? What are you doing when you are either A, resting, relaxing, and recharging, or B, investing time in learning, growing, and developing? What does either of those look like? What are you doing?
So the one thing I do is we have a house in Hawaii. And for whatever reason, we lost our home in a fire in 2007. And we had a place in Hawaii, and that became, for me and Bev and our kids, like this little sanctuary. And we have a great connection with the local community. My wife is African American. My kids look Hawaiian. So when we go there, we're a big family, ohana. We know all the people who work in the restaurants. We bring them little gifts and all this type of stuff. So when we go there, we're home. And I get there, and I'm on the Big Island, and I go for these hikes every day where I never see a soul. I'm by the ocean. And so I have a whole routine around that. And I do, I'll go there initially, and I'll be there the day after Christmas, company's Christmas party. And first 3 days, no phone, no nothing. It won't read anything. I don't want any intake at all. And just digestion. And then what I'll do is I'll start to write down. And again, I used to be a prolific journalist. And so I would journal all the time. And I had lost 19 years of my journals when our house burned down. And I've never really recovered. So I don't really journal the way I used to, but I journal quasi. And it just helps me get what's out of my head and everything that's gone on. And this year, I've had 5 years this year. And my mother died March 20th. I'm gonna tell you, haven't had a chance to mourn her. So when I go to Hawaii, I'm gonna talk to the ocean a couple times. And these folks know me pretty well. I'll give you this word if it means anything. I married a wise human being. And Bev was like, you haven't even had a chance to catch your breath about your mom. And I said, no, I haven't. And she goes, because my mom was a huge part of my life. And she goes, Brian, just so you know, it's good to mourn, but your mom, her words live on through you. And I was like, I'm good. So recharge, download, journal. And then, I'm a voracious reader and listener. And then I'll go, when I go on that, I just go all in. I'll read a book a day. And so I learned how to speed read 35 years ago in real estate. And so when I go hard and heavy. I typically will read stuff when I know, I got a peak experience or a leadership conference, when I know, A, what do I need? And B, what do they need? And so I read stuff that the people who come to me haven't had a chance to read. So that's the little format.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Well, that's the conversation. For folks watching and listening, a lot of things that we talked about are linked up down below, whether you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, whether you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or whether you're watching or listening at realestateteamos.com. A lot of stuff linked up right down below. Brian, I appreciate you so much. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Ethan. I appreciate it. It's good stuff. All right. There it is.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Team OS. For email exclusive insights every week, sign up at realestateteamos.com.